Who's gonna talk about that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll take care of that.
Go right ahead.
All right, the Public Safety Committee met March 7th. Mr. Sturgill, Mr. Harris, and I in attendance. The committee made the following recommendation. Round Valley District Supervisor Jason Harris made a recommendation to approve and authorize the county administrator to execute the mobile communications America sales and service agreement as presented. Joe District Supervisor Mike Sturgill, the second of the motion, is unanimously approved. The committee also met February 27th jointly with the Town of Marion Fire and EMS Committee. In closed session, the committee discussed potential candidates for the Marion Fire Chief. Ultimately, decisions were made to hire Rusty Ham for the chief position and Dickie Keesling for the assistant chief. No motion was needed from the board at that time.
Yeah, just information on that.
Yeah. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we have one recommendation to authorize the county administrator to execute the mobile communication America sales and service agreement as presented. Any discussion? It's a committee recommendation. So hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise. Once again, you get your put your John Henry on something.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the only thing we have to vote on out of that committee.
Yes, sir.
Moving on now to the budget committee.
I got it. So the budget committee had a meeting on March 7th. We did have several items of discussion. The first item was the budget amendment number 7 in the amount of $230,000. That was included items from insurance-related revenue and expenses, final reassessment, contract payment, and some AMB EMS reporting reimbursements. So after discussion, Mr. Sturgill made a motion to recommend the budget amendment, and Mr. Widener seconded the motion. It comes to you as a unanimous recommendation from committee.
Okay, does the committee recommend any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? I believe it was unanimous.
If you don't mind, I'll skip number 2 and come back to it because it's going to take some conversations. Third item we talked about was the funding offer or funding plan for the new solid waste loader, just under $270,000. We received a lease to own offer and a bank loan offer. The bank loan was by far the better choice with the Bank of Marion at 5.9%. After discussion, Mr. Widener made a motion to recommend accepting the Bank of Marion financing offer and authorize the county administrator to complete all acts necessary for the purchase of the loader. Pending financial review by Davenport and Associates, Mr. Sturgill seconded the motion, and it was unanimously approved. Just an update, I have had some conversations with Mr. Cooch at Davenport, and since the loader itself will stand as the collateral, the bank is not requiring a moral obligation or a general obligation, then Davenport doesn't have any concerns at all with the funding option.
Okay, thank you for following up on that. Okay, committee recommendation. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? I think it was unanimous again.
Next item was dealing with another opioid abatement authority grant application. Mount Rogers Health District is doing a regional grant for mobile health units, like two mobile health units. They are asking the county to serve as fiscal agent on the project, similar to what we're doing with the Community Services Board and what I expect we'll be doing with the Appalachian Center for Hope. After discussion, Chilhowie District Supervisor, Mr. Widener made the motion to approve the partnership agreement to serve as the fiscal agent, and Mr. Sturgill seconded the motion. Mr. Atkins did vote against it, but the motion still passed as a recommendation 2-1 to the full board.
Okay, any further discussion?
Is that the free money again that we're talking about?
Yeah, there's funding directly from the state now. And the next, there is a request for local funds too. That's the next recommendation. But what this motion refers to, I think about $700,000 or so that they're asking for the state for funds for that. And for us to serve. And they're asking for us to serve it because their regional office is here in the area.
So they're just looking for the county to write the grant.
And my reason for opposing it was, we're getting to be the physical agent on quite a few different funds, programs, or projects, whatever. That's gotta be costing us some money. We gotta figure out some way, other than a little bit of interest we may have, to at least pay our way.
And I do have a call into the opioid abatement authority administrator to see if we can have see what options there are for administrative fees. She didn't call back.
I'm sorry. The information I have is that the Commonwealth strongly discourages spending any settlement funds for non-abatement purposes. So anything that's not recovery related, and further that no indirect costs are allowed. So I don't know unless they can get it.
I mean, they must live in an ideal world where everything gets paid for, but you know.
Magically.
Yeah, magically, but you know, it costs us money, but if nothing else, just for the write the checks. And you know, I don't mind doing a few, but when you're getting in these projects and you're looking 3 or 4 years, I mean, and maybe it's just a day a month, but that adds up.
This one here is probably going to be the easier ones that we have to deal with.
But I know when we used to be the physical agent on some of these housing projects over in Salisbury, I spent a lot of time making sure he had the invoice matched up with who was doing the work and everything.
And drawing down the money.
Drawing down funds, and we got absolutely nothing for it, you know. And as we become fiscal agent for this project and that project, and this program, and you know, pretty soon we're gonna have to hire somebody. You know, does that just come out of the general budget, or you know, we got a tight budget right now, and we got people saying, hey, we need to cut back on things, which I agree, but I don't know. That's why I voted no. I think it's a good idea for this opioid, but I just think if we're gonna be the physical agent, or whoever is, and heaven forbid it's not us, if it's Washington County or whatever, they need to be able to get 0.5% or whatever to at least begin to justify the cost of administering the program.
That's what Mount Rogers PDC does. They get a certain percentage of any grant
projects
that they handle the money with.
But they pass it down to us and we do it for free.
Yeah.
Lisa, you said this particular grant, it has no allowance for administrative.
The OAA grants don't. At least their guidance doesn't offer anything. Now, Sean might be able to find something out directly from
We see that a lot.
the director.
I mean, I don't mean to be negative, but I just, somewhere along the line, you gotta watch the pennies, cause they add up to the dollars.
Yeah.
And,
I have let my peers know around the region that it's time for some of them to, you know, if we take these, for them, some of them to start assuming assistance.
yeah, telling your chairman's getting obnoxious about it.
Right.
So do these facilities, these entities that are spending the money, do they occupy a bricks and mortar location?
Yeah, so the health department project, it's the regional health department that's in over near Francis Marion, the regional office, and it'll serve Smith, With, Bland, Galax, Grayson, Carroll, and it'll also serve Washington, Bristol counties. So it's the whole planning district commission, and it's a partnership with the Mount Rogers Community Services Board and the Highlands. Is that what's the name of the community services board that is in Washington County? It's Highlands Community Services Board.
So
Yeah.
my question would be, those people administrating that, where do they pay for the lights, the electricity, the heating, the water?
Yeah, they have their
the
own
travel miles? So,
they have their own
those
budgets.
boards are absorbing that cost as well.
Yeah, yeah. So
Execute.
and this one for the opioid, it will pay for the vehicle, the upfit, and all the equipment that will go into the vehicles, and the operation. I think for the first year.
And then they're going to use their own.
Yeah, it starts.
Opioid funding.
Yeah, after that. just gets it up and running, similar to what, Mr. Graham was talking about with the Appalachian Center for Hope.
I guess what my ultimate question was, is there at any point in that process, is there funding from the opioid abatement that winds up back in non-treatment, either through salaries or expenses to get a staff member from point A to point B, or
It'll
pay
be
the water bill for the building?
It'll fund the salaries that are manning the mobile unit that first year.
Okay.
But it's 2 people, I think.
Like part of we just received a $37,000 grant, for the opioid abatement, and it's gonna pay the salary of a peer support specialist that is doing nothing but focusing on that recovery program.
I guess I was just trying to find a loophole to find that 1/2 or
Very-
1/4%.
Very few loopholes with this one.
Okay, all right, that was my question, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
So it has to be a government agency that does it. These
Yeah.
agencies can't do it themselves.
Right. And it's my understanding, at least with the Mount Rogers Community Services Board, they pull all the reporting, they do all the work. We're supposed to go and certify. I don't know that the reporting has been set up yet.
It hasn't yet, they haven't determined what the reporting is yet. But
So I'm kinda like Charlie. I mean, if there's that many more counties and jurisdictions besides Smyth County, why are they asking Smyth County? Are they telling them no, or?
No, mostly it's just ease because their regional office is here in Marion. It's just access.
And that's pretty common practice.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And that was where I didn't have as much issue, just with this one, was because it's here.
Yep, I agree.
But I do agree, taking on multiple, projects. We can't always be that fall guy for it, so, but my biggest thing was just because, like he said, the ease of access and everything, just for this one, because it's located here in our county.
the information that I have, comes from the auditor of public accounts.
All right, any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Likewise, all opposed.
I'll second that.
So it's 5-2.
Thank you. Next item we discussed was related to that project. What's different with this project versus other that we're a fiscal agent to, they're asking for partnership with each locality also. If you look at the potential use and the population, our contribution request is $50,000 out of our opioid abatement funds that we've received. We have just over 200,000 that needs to be spent on something. So I was certainly supportive, and the committee seemed supportive. Mr. Widener made a motion to recommend approving the $50,000 contribution to be used toward the mobile clinic. Mr. Sturgill seconded the motion, and it was a unanimous recommendation from committee.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we have very limited things we can spend that money
It
on.
has to be directly toward opioid abatement or opioid mitigation standards.
Any discussion? Any questions on this one? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds like it was unanimous.
Next time we discussed was related to EMS billing. Our billing contractor has been negotiating with various health insurance providers, and the United Health Care rate is there in that table that they have offered to reimburse that. You'll see the current rate that the county charges, the billing rate that they are offering, and then the amount that we would need to write off in red. Following discussion, realizing that options are minimal. Following discussion, Mr. Widener did make a recommendation to approve the United Healthcare proposed rate structure. Mr. Sturgill seconded it, and it was unanimously approved as a recommendation from committee.
Any questions?
Are these sustainable reimbursements?
I think so.
For operations?
I think so, in the grand scheme of things. We're doing really well on collection rates. We budgeted, we wanted to be around 50% at least, because just what I've heard from folks, that it was difficult to get that collection for EMS, and we're in the upper 70s, low 80s.
How often is these rates
Annual.
negotiated?
They're annual. And I expect to have at least 2, if not 3 more different insurance companies coming back.
So is this the only, I'm sorry, is this a switch that's handling the billing, or is this actually the insurance that's gonna pay the process?
So AMB is our billing agent,
Okay.
and they're the ones that have negotiated this with United Healthcare. So a patient who has United Healthcare insurance, this is what they'll pay per call.
Gotcha, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? Unanimous.
Okay. Next item we discussed was a request from Open Door Community. It used to be Hope Incorporated. They have a 4-unit housing development that serves permanent supportive housing units for people with intellectual and developmental disorders. Last year, they paid real estate taxes of $1,350.50. They're asking for a grant similar to what we did with PACE Incorporated, the senior, I guess the adult daycare program, asking for a one-time donation in that same amount. So following discussion, Mr. Sturgill did make a motion to recommend approving the grant in the amount of $1,350.50 to Open Door Community. Mr. Widener seconded it, and it was a unanimous recommendation from committee. This will come from supplemental appropriation.
And if you remember, they came before us a year ago asking to be tax exempt, for lack of a better way to say it, and we shy away from that. And we told them that we would consider this type of proposal. So that's why they're here with us now. We didn't guarantee it, but we said we'd strongly look at it.
Every year. Yeah.
Every year.
They have to come back every year.
So that way we're not in the business of funding or making exempt every nonprofit that knocks on our door. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? Unanimous.
Okay. Next item, we had a quick discussion about an update from the Parks, about the Parks and Recreation Department. We're getting up and running. Mr. Smar has some folks that are willing and interested in helping to get the football and cheerleading programs rolling. He's requested a stipend for a cheerleading director and a football director for this coming season in the amount of $1,500 each. Following discussion, Mr. Widener made that motion to allocate $1,500 stipend for cheerleading and for football director, and Mr. Sturgill seconded. It was a unanimous recommendation from committee.
Any questions? I would like to make one thing, and when we write this up, make it very clear that we're talking $1,500 for cheerleading and another $1,500 for football. Because when you read this real quick,
Yes.
you know, it looks like we're looking for a cheerleading and football director. Total $1,500. So change the wording just a little bit there, please.
Yep. That was the recommendation and the goal. Yep. for staff anyway.
All righty, it's committee recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? Unanimous. I would like to add that the public seems to be very high on us assuming this role as the recreational coordinator for the county.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Yep. The last item we discussed was basically this meeting served as our first budget work session. So we discussed some revenue highlights, some of the cost increases that we'll be seeing this coming year. Hope to have a draft budget to the budget committee next Thursday. But I do want to go back to item 2, and I'm glad that Mr. Prater is still here. So this is a request from the town of Saltville to assist with a moral obligation for 2 utility projects that'll help the town move forward on. Mr. Young, Mayor Young, and Darian Music, he's their engineer. They were there at the budget committee to talk about the projects. One is a water project that was a town-wide replacement line and would also replace all the meters. $1.3 million loan along with $330,000 grant. And the sewer project, which is related to the sewer main that Mr. Prater was talking about, it's $87,000 loan and a $260,000 grant. After conversations with VRA, the town, as he said, they've been experiencing issues with getting their audit. They just have gotten the June 30, 2022 audit. VRA expects the June 30, 2023 audit before they'll approve funding, but they did offer as a recommendation, if they can't get the audit, for the county to consider a moral obligation. We discussed this a great deal in committee, and I've thought about it some more even afterwards. Talked a little bit with our financial guys in Davenport. I think the best next step would be to have a good debriefing with Davenport on what that moral obligation requires. So in theory, we wouldn't have to budget money each year. However, the moral obligation basically says that you're morally obligated to pay that debt payment if the town of Saltville can't. So we would have to at least have a plan or a reserve set up or something for an annual payment. Don't really know what that, I don't have the figures on what those annual payments were going to be. And I'm not against it. I think we should do all we can to help our citizens out in the town, but I think we do need to go be a little cautious and at least talk to the Davenport folks and see how they would recommend moving forward with helping.
We probably have to have a public hearing on it before we can approve a moral obligation.
A general obligation requires a public hearing. A moral doesn't require it, but it's
I'd rather do it
suggested.
and feel good with the community and some
Absolutely.
input.
I agree. One thought would be, if you have, I think we would have to have a side agreement with the town of Saltville, just to iron everything out, to make sure all the expectations are there. And I wouldn't expect them to default, but I think you always plan for the worst and expect the best. But
I'm for helping them, but we gotta cover it for the whole county, so to speak, too. So,
sure.
I'd love to say let's vote it in tonight, but I think we need to look at a few things. And
I would like to maybe Davenport hopefully will be available for our budget committee next Thursday. If I can get them available, just to at least attend virtually to talk to the budget committee, that might be a good next step if that suits the board. The budget committee did not make a recommendation one way or the other during the committee meeting. They wanted to propose it to the full board for discussion to see what direction the full board would rather go. But the recommendation would be, from me as staff, would be to ask Davenport to give us some input and some guidance.
I'm just gonna say this, if I can. I think it just goes to say more that we would benefit as a whole in the entire county operating under a PSA. As far as funding, and I think being able to manage everything, I think more consistently, I think it would just be better. I know that's not an option with this right now, but I think that's something to consider when you have a situation where there's and it may be common. I don't remember any of this in my recent time, but if you need a moral obligation from another entity, to me, it looks and it sounds like there's something there that's got some questions in people's minds. So
the main reason why they needed the moral obligation is because they couldn't get that guarantee of financials from an audit. An audit would show. So that was the main.
But at the end of the day, also, these are county citizens that deserve what every other county citizen has the right to. So, you know, I just think it's some things to think about, and like I said, I'm big on the PSA thing, I always have been, bringing everything together in one operation. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Do any of our local counties have PSAs that were around us?
Washington County.
Washington County does?
Johnson County, Carroll County, can't remember if Grayson does. Yeah, Wise County probably has the largest PSA in the state.
But the one drawback to the PSA is that it's what Saltville's run into, but I think some of it's Saltville's problem, is public accountants, CPAs, are not jumping on these audits like they used to be. Public opinion, my opinion, the state and the regulatory authorities have come in and put so many requirements on those auditors that have nothing to do with the financial statements, that they're saying, we're not gonna do it anymore. We got other things we can do and make money. So that's part of what Saltville ran into. They were a little bit on their part too, but the auditor they employed didn't, I mean, it was a second thought on their part. They had to do their regular business and come in and do that. If we establish a PSA, we gotta find somebody to audit them, you know, somehow. If we're not part, they're not part of our audit. But we need to make sure they get that. Well, the library ran into that before Rose took over. In that they were 2 or 3 years behind, not necessarily because of the library, because they were trying to give them the information, but the library was low on the totem pole as the projects that CPA wanted to do. And that's becoming more prevalent every day.
And, you know, I think we just did an RFP, 2 years ago maybe, for auditors, and we got one firm, one proposal. You know, I don't mind trying to go back out and do a regional, quote unquote, regional audit that would include the towns, but I worry if we would even get that one proposal.
Yeah.
I mean, just knowing the same amount of work is involved with the town of Saltville as there is, maybe not the same, but a pretty large amount as it would be with the county. But we're a $140 million budget and there's a $4 million budget. So there's some differences, but.
And, you know, and really, and this is not, maybe this is not the time to talk about it. We probably need to go back to the auditor of public accounts and say, hey, you may want to, you know, you used to do the audits. At least come back and do the major county audits. That way we're not, what would we do if they come back and say, we don't want to do your audit anymore? You know, if you're going out for bid and nobody's answering, what do you do? And we got so many of our debt issues requiring an annual audit. And all of a sudden we have nobody, you know, we're in good standing, we got all this going for us, but they really don't care. It's so many other things involved in that audit that they're afraid to put their name on it. And it's getting worse, not better.
And I really hate it for the town, and I'm like Mr. Atkins, I want to do all we can. We just need to make sure it's done in the right way for the county as a whole.
I would ask on this right here, are both of these projects, are they tied together or can they be separated?
No, they're two separate projects.
Okay, so if we looked at this, maybe the sewer is a bigger issue than the water, or?
Yeah, and they actually have a third project that's probably a year and a half out before it's ready, but yeah, these are two different moral obligation requests.
Okay. Has any of this ever been put to the Mount Rogers Planning Commission?
I have no idea, honestly.
I mean, that's what they're in.
As far as funding wise?
Yeah, I mean, and if they'd already got a $300,000 grant, is that what it said?
Yeah, but the problem with that is you don't get the grant money if you don't sign up for the loan.
Yeah.
So it's the carrot, the grant money is the carrot, but you have to be able to sign up for that long-term financial risk too.
Well, maybe Mount Rogers can do something about it. It's sure worth checking on.
But the sewer one, yeah, it's $87,000 loan and a $260,000 grant. I mean, that's pretty good.
They could do that.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, a moral obligation on $87,000 is an $87,000 payment by the county.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at is, I mean, that's the.
Versus the 1.3 million.
Yep, sure enough.
Sure.
What's the pleasure of the board?
One last question. If this thing goes sour tomorrow, what are we looking at environmentally? Exposure, chemically,
It'll be
financially?
Yeah, the town would be, DEQ would be in town pretty quick, I would expect.
And we can't get a Norfolk Southern Railroad tanker in there to pay the cost.
Mr. Prater, did you say there was one overhead line in jeopardy?
The major issue we have is the aerial sewer line that goes from town proper to the sewer treatment plant, which is near what would be Cardinal Allison's Gap, that part of town. It goes directly over the Holston River. That's the issue. The issue is, it's the main treatment plant for town. It's the only treatment plant for town. It's the main artery. If it goes down, we can't treat the sewer until it's fixed, and you're immediately gonna be having raw human waste going into the Holston River.
Well, there's two other ones, two smaller ones, isn't there?
There are two smaller ones.
That crosses the river?
Crosses the river. There are ones that cross the river, and that is near, on 91 going out towards Rich Valley.
Down at
near
Bucks at the bridge.
Bucks. Those do not seem to have, knock on wood, those do not seem to have the same level of issues at this point.
It's
They-
took that one out a couple of times, floodwater.
Yes, it has, because part of the line goes in the river itself.
And the other one's behind utility, or reline.
Yes, you're right. But the one that is near Titan, and I would suggest that any of you would go and look at it yourselves. It is a pressing issue, and I don't mean to overstep your all's conversation on, I know this is, but that line, I'm not an expert, but to look at it, it has many sutures. They have gone and repaired it. There's moss all over it. Part of it is sagging. It could go at any time.
Mr. Chairman, so, just trying to think of our options with this, I mean, even if you voted today, it's still gonna be a little time before everything can go through. You know, we'll go back and forth on this, just because, understanding the importance of that, and, you know, if we don't move forward on something, you know, you're looking at additional major costs, could be for I guess, the town and the county. Is it something that we could, and I understand the public hearing, but of course, we're just pushing that. I guess my question is it gonna make any difference in the timing of everything to make a decision tonight versus pushing it to a public hearing on the next meeting?
No, you know, the sooner the better, but I don't think the town of Salt is expecting a decision tonight on the moral obligation. I think, you know, they would like to hear a yes, of course, but I think they understand that there's a process that we want to go through. Yeah.
Well, my concern is just the timing of, you know, knowing how critical this is. If that decision's made tonight, if it would speed the process 2 weeks quicker for somebody to be working on it versus, I mean, are you taking a chance with those 2 weeks?
I'm sort of agreeing with, Mr. Widener on that. You know, if we, and I'm not talking the whole project, I'm just talking the sewer part of it.
Yes, that's.
If we go ahead, and we're sticking our necks out, so to speak, for 87,000. And if it would gain 2 weeks, I just think knowing what we've heard from the town mayor, what we've heard here tonight, I almost think that we should stick our necks out and help with that part of the project. Come back and find out later we did the wrong thing. I think it's better to do this and be told we did the wrong thing than to do nothing tonight.
You think
Yeah, probably.
do we need to,
there.
I would like to come to Davenport, just to see.
Yeah.
I understand.
Are we talking about hearing from Davenport on the whole thing, on the 1.3 million for the water and the sewer,
Or
or?
to piece together what we're talking about here with the priority being the sewer line, so that we can look at it potentially, does that make sense?
Yeah, the honest opinion, if our liability for the sewer line is only $87,000, it's not the end of the world. I mean, 1.3 million is pretty good. chunk of change. That's I would love to hear from Davenport, but if the board is willing to take that chance for the 87,000, you could do a motion. That was a, that was a draft, resolution from VRA, that basically was just a support for moral obligation, and they would come back with the official documents later. But we could do that if you wanted to do a motion in support of a moral obligation for the sewer portion, sewer grant. We can do that.
And then to wait on the
And we can get Davenport's
remainder, yeah.
for the water.
I would like to see us do that. I just think, you know, they're our citizens, we need to serve them, and quite honestly, if that pipe breaks and Saltville can't pay the DEQ charges, fines, everything else, we're gonna be out a lot more money than $87,000.
I would just hate for 2 weeks to stand in between that and us not make some, at least on that part.
Yeah.
You know, the other projects and everything, absolutely checking.
What the other unspoken comment up to this point is the ripple effect of the contamination of the river. And one, what is the extent of that? How long will that last? And who knows what kind of cleanup expense for the river? And then it's bleeding into our neighbors in Washington County.
Well, if it happens tonight, you may not know about it until tomorrow.
Right, but at least if we agree to do it and it breaks after that, well, we started the process, we just were late. But to do it after the fact, I think one, I think it's bad optics. Two, I think it's bad neighborly status for both in county and next county. And it's just I think it's the right thing to do, commit to it and try to fix it.
Having heard all that, does anyone make a motion to,
I'll second.
I'll make a motion to go with the moral obligation on the sewer project only at this time.
I'll second.
have a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? I believe that was unanimous.
That's all we had on the budget committee.
He likes to spend money. Appointment committee. Who's the appointment committee?
Mr. White?
What page is that on? Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Okay, and on the appointment committee, it had met on March the 7th. Mr. Harris and I in attendance. We discussed potential applicants for various roles. No recommendations were made at this time. The committee did request staff to reach out to an interested candidate for the Oakland Mount Rogers Community Services Board for an interview. It's going to be on March the 28th. That was all we had for the appointment committee. No, that is actually
Closed session.
no, but is that Mark? So a correction on that, that was Mr. Sturgill here with me on that, because I just got to thinking, I was like, well, I don't remember you being here either.
I believe I
No,
was.
no, it's Charlie, I'm sorry.
There's your-
Was it Charlie?
There's the problem that you didn't
Yeah.
find in the minutes, when it was the appointment committee minutes instead of the full board minutes.
I was sitting there, when was I happy?
I'll fix it.
We're all losing it.
So the closed
Good thing you're
session,
here.
That will be the 28th.
so it's just put off.
She wasn't available for the night.
Just testing.
I couldn't figure out, I was sitting there going, what?
I was just testing.
Yeah, too many meetings.
Will that be the final spot on that committee?
Yeah, we just have one spot left.
So is everything full except for that one committee?
For now.
For now.
Sure about that.
Yeah, I'm having issues. People saying they're interested, but not calling back.
Yeah, I talked to two of the three that I had, and they're not interested. One has
Oh,
told me.
really?
What's that?
Really? Neither one of them are interested?
No, I got one more that said if he wasn't, he would get me some more names.
Okay.
So, I'm still working on that.
Okay.
Is the equalization full now?
No, that's.
No, we need two alternates still.
'Cause
We have one,
Well, that alternate, we lost one of the board members, so the
Yeah.
alternate.
Gang one lost one.
Mr. Sparks.
So we netted the
Still
same.
Yeah, Mr. Sparks, if they're in your packet, Mr. Sparks was not able to participate this year, this time.
I know we're gonna have, and this is not on here, probably not relevant right now, but I know our representative for the, we have two people on the Whitfield Community College board. I know the one is due to health, is gonna resign June 3rd. So we
Yeah,
need to
sure.
start looking right now.
Her term ends June 30th, she didn't wanna
Yeah, she told me that the other night, so I told her to find a replacement, but.
That's not district specific.
No, it's east part of the county, basically Marion High School coverage area.
Yeah. But we've had a good one, and you know, and I'm gonna speak, this is sort of out of place here, but our citizens, when we send them out to these committees and so forth that involve several counties, our citizens speak well for the county because they end up being the chairperson, they end up being, the leaders of the group, so I mean, kudos to the citizens of Smyth County who step forward and volunteer and do these things, because they're recognized in the other counties as being the people they want to lead, so.
Yeah, and in your board, teams folder we have the appointments spreadsheet, and has everybody in there, you can see who's come up, if you're interested.
So, you know, don't wait till May to start looking.
Right.
Start thinking about who might be what, especially if it's specific, district specific. Having said that, I guess we can move on. We've already gone into overtime, my pay's gonna get more expensive. We're up to the point of dangerous dog ordinance.
Okay, in your packet, attachment 11, page 179, is the draft amendment, and the following page is the revised ordinance with the corrections, and basically all we did was pull our current ordinance into line with the state code as far as the registration fees and the renewal fees that's tied to dangerous dogs. We had a public hearing last meeting, and I think everything else, this is the final step in order to update the ordinance.
Any comments? Do we want to adopt these changes? I think we ought to at least be in agreement with the state code like we are.
Yeah.
Need a motion on it?
Yes, sir.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, have a motion to adopt our ordinance to the state code. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I sometimes think we don't go far enough, because I know Churchland Drive, our famous location, they've got 3 signs hanging on the vehicles out on the state right of way saying it's a dangerous dog. And those dogs are running all over the place there. In the neighborhood, the neighbors are not happy.
Are they court-ordered dangerous
Yes.
dogs?
Yes.
It's a
But the
class
dogs are
1
loose.
misdemeanor to the owner if they don't
Right.
go abide by the court ordered rules.
They got their signs hanging on the trailers in the state right of way and on each end of the property, but, the dogs are loose as can be.
Yes, I have actually heard.
I have seen that.
Well, I heard about that recently through somebody.
Yep.
Okay.
If they're uncontained, they're supposed to be on a leash with a muzzle.
They're not.
There's an individual.
They're running loose in the neighborhood. But,
Actually,
you know, I don't know what more we can do, but the motion before us right now is to adopt our ordinance to agree with the state code as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Unanimous. Planning Commission recommendations, comprehensive plan.
So the planning commission, after last month's public hearing, tabled that. They'll reconsider it at their meeting in 2 weeks, and I hope to bring their recommendation to you next month. So no action tonight.
Oh, I love that one, we won't get that one wrong. New business. Okay, good, report from the county attorney, he's been quiet all night down there, wake him up.
I like to stay quiet. Working on various things, Churchland Drive, I'm in communication with Pat and Graham, trying to figure out which piece of property we're talking about. So I gotta get back with him about that. Other than that, just working on the ACH building and various other things going on, so.
Thank you. Report from the county administrator and staff.
Just a few items real quick. Governor, remind you of the governor's visit on the 20th next week at the Higher Ed Center, 3:30. I'm saying 3:30, they're saying probably 3:45, so expect 4:30. Just for planning purposes. But be there by 3:30, we can carpool down. I'll send a notice to the news to make sure if we have more than 2 with us in attendance. Mount Rogers next door, they're going to be doing their $11 million expansion, groundbreaking on May 14th, 10 o'clock, if you want to put that in your calendar. Trying to get a good turnout for that. Hands and Feet Ministries, there's a benefit concert on April 7th. The invite's in your book for that if you're interested. They specifically wanted to invite the board in thanks for the $20,000 donation we did last year from the original opioid funds. In your book, we have an update from Grindstone Campground on the front of the yellow. So it's
put there to depress us, wasn't it?
What's that?
That was put there to depress the board, wasn't it?
Well, at least it's something. It's better than not knowing anything. Yeah, it's still going to be a couple years before they're opening back up, but at least they have some funding in place.
How many years has that been closed?
I've been here for 4.
It was closed the whole time.
Yeah. It's got to be at least 5 or 6.
That has cost a county a lot of revenue.
And then Clay wanted to talk about the information packet.
Yeah, just real quick. So for the past several months, we've been talking about streamlining the information packet that you all get. So this month included was our first stab at that. If there's any information that you were accustomed to seeing and it didn't make it on here, please let us know. We'll certainly try to include that. It is a work in progress, so any comments you have would be appreciated. And one concept that we've been bouncing back and forth is to include maybe a calendar. So important events for the upcoming month, just to keep you aware of those. So thank you all.
I saw it in the packet and loved it.
So yeah, literally any information because there's not as much information this month as you were getting in previous months. So if there was anything that anybody missed and was wondering where it went, let me know, and we'll make sure it makes it on this.
But I will say, all of that stuff is in your Teams folder. We just didn't print it out and muddle up your desks.
All righty. Going to supervisor comment time. You're first.
Yeah, I'm first. It was rigged. I was almost last time, so. With that being said, once again, thank everybody for coming out. It's good to hear from the citizens. I mean, we had some great presentations tonight. I think with all the, I guess, the bad vibes that's been over the assessments and the way everybody's felt about that, I said that here's somebody new coming on the board, and I do see a lot of great things that the county has in progress. It's none of this stuff is going to happen tomorrow. Just like talking about the sewer project in Saltville, that's something that's going to take a little bit of time. So nothing's going to happen tomorrow. That's the thing with government. It just doesn't happen that quick. But there's a lot of good things in place. It's heading, toward a good place when we get there. So I do appreciate that from the county and the staff and the administration for all their hard work that they put together to make us look as good as we can when we're up here. So I do appreciate that.
Pick another.
I said us.
Roscoe, you're next.
Well, appreciate all the people coming tonight, there's some good things going on in the future and everything. Hope everybody's well and be careful going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sturgill.
Yes, I'd like to thank the public for coming out tonight, giving us input. I think it helps us to make more, more, I'd say, wise decisions, because we get the input, and I think, and like I said, I appreciate the dialogue between board members, and I think we're able to put our heads together. We may not always agree, but we're able to come to a solution, so thank you all, appreciate the staff for all you all do, and we'll strive each and every day to get a little better. Thank you.
Mr. Widener.
So I actually had a list of things that I was gonna talk about and I didn't bring them. You guys probably appreciate that. Anyways, I just wanna really thank everybody that come and spoke tonight. You know, we get a lot of, concerns, you know, complaints, we get good news on things that's going on. But, you know, there's things I hear through other people too, but, you know, I just think it's so important for everybody to know who their contact is for the board of supervisors, who their supervisor is, how to contact them. Go straight to the source. You know, let us do our job in trying to get you the information correctly. You know, don't let something sit and fester. If you've got an issue that comes up, yes, let us know, because I can promise you we're going to look into it. You know, I've always said this is your meetings. This is our meetings as a county, and it's so important that everybody brings their concerns forward, because, you know, there's things that even we may be doing sometimes that, you know, somebody may point out, hey, you can do this a little better, and we respect that, and I appreciate that, because it just shows that there is involvement with the community, and just in everything we do, we try to do it in the best interest. I do for the citizens of my district and for the citizens of the entire county. And I've been trying to make sure that every person I come in contact with outside of my home, as I can get outside of it, you know, I'll ask them if they know where, you know, what district they're in, you know, try to give them a little update, because that little bit of information sometimes goes a long ways with people that may have concerns. So if I hear something, yeah, I'm gonna start relaying that to people, and hopefully it'll get around and help everybody figure out that, hey, you know, this is coming straight from the source, and I know everybody can't get up here. I'm hoping in the future, and I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot right now, I'm probably talking in circles, but, so, you just made me lose my train of thought, but, anyways, you know, I would just like to see, and I know it's hard, but maybe in the future, looking at our meetings being even 30 minutes later, for some individuals to be able to get here at a more reasonable time. I know not everybody works a day shift job. I know, you know, sometimes we never know what we're going to be working, but I would like to see a little bit of change there. I just want to put that out there. And again, just thank the staff for everything you guys do. And I did want to ask Mr. Williams, is there a way that we can get a copy of the maps, a map of the county with that shows the area of land use and forest and everything like that?
Yes, sure. Yeah, we have that. I mean,
Okay.
It's a good layer to, it's
Now,
very
I mean, is
interesting
this
to
something
see.
that, and I can't remember, we've talked about, and I can't remember everything, but, I mean, is it printable, or you can?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, well, I mean, we can have it available for the next meeting in 2 weeks. We can put it up
Okay.
on the screen, we can send it to you as a PDF, we can print it out on 11 by 17.
I just think, especially on the forestry and things, and I'm not talking about forestry and land use, I'm talking about forestry in, U.S. Forest Service and everything like that, the amount of real estate that.
So actually, if you look at the zoning map over here, everything that is green
That
is
is forest.
state or federal forest. So that's effectively non-taxable land. To give you
So-
some context of.
So I think it's really important for everybody to understand too, that, you know, with the geography that we live in, you know, that limits a lot of things. So, you know, there's other localities that may have similar, issues, but I think it's just so important for everybody to see that. I'm gonna stop at this point, and, y'all have a good evening.
Chris, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a small ask of the staff, if it's not too heavy of a lift. I struggle with dates and times and locations, so there's a little calendar on this little Teams app. If you guys could load as much, I won't say everything, but the stuff that we need to be made aware of, so I can at least make sure my calendar, my world of insanity matches this, and I may cut down on some of the stuff I miss.
Absolutely.
Secondly, in my professional life, we've got a lot of turmoil going on, and I've learned through my professional life how important it is to engage your decision makers, the senators, the congressmen, the legislators, and because of that, I have an appreciation for you all coming and standing up and throwing a rock at us once in a while saying, wake up. As has been stated before, I do value all your opinions. Take them back and mull them over and try to look at them from all angles and try to arrive at a decision that is best suited for the greater good, as is to your point, forgive me, I can't remember your last name.
Right.
Mr. Prater, the Saltville issue, the sewage issue, so that strikes me pretty close. So keep coming, keep yelling at us, keep bringing stuff to us, because I mean, in the absence of you coming and speaking to us, we're going to think everything's okay and make a decision based on potentially limited information. Okay. Like Courtney, I just went vapor locked here. I was going to think of something else I was going to say I'm going to kick myself from walking out. All right, I'll pass. I'll do it later.
Mr. Billings.
I'll say pretty much the same thing, and to you three that got up and spoke and stayed to the end, I commend you on that, because we had several the last time that said their spiel and got their mic drop moment and left and didn't get to hear our side of the argument, I guess. So, and you know, especially Mr. Prater, he can go back to Saltville now and be the rock star tomorrow. I know you wasn't doing that, and I'm just picking, but I mean, if you would have left after you said your spiel, you wouldn't have seen that we are actually here to help the citizens of Smyth County. And in my mind, at least, what you said had a big impact on me to be able to say, yeah, instead of let's think about it or whatever. So, and that's what gets things done. I spoke to a few people the other night, and that was my big thing. Let your voice be heard, and same with you two. I mean, I've heard, if I'm not mistaken, I've spoke to you on the phone about that complaint. So I'm sure that'll be addressed soon too, or you know, at least we hope anyway. And I'll never forget your spiel the last time. So I really did. So. Just like they said, stay involved, keep coming, keep us on our toes. And I think big things are happening. I mean, the one fellow was talking about nothing to do and all that, and, you know, if you read through and look at the rec department stuff that's getting ready to happen, you know, the citizens of Smyth County have spoke, and we answered the call, or, you know, so I think things are going in the right direction. I mean, nobody's ever gonna say it's going fast enough, but I think things are happening. Thank you.
And I guess I'm last, simply because of the luck of the draw. As you've noticed tonight, our meetings are controlled by Robert's Rules of Order, but we have our own amendments. And that, if it's a small crowd and your speech takes longer than 3 minutes, I'm not waving you off and saying, hey, hush, hush. If it's a big crowd now, I'll be a little more serious. We let you talk, you know, nothing like making a trip here, and he cut me off in the middle of the sentence, you know. As long as you're making progress and we're not hearing the same speech 3 times, we're willing to listen to you. I would like to add, though, follow up. Once you come and speak to us, and you don't see or hear anything for a month or 2 months or what, come back and say, what happened? Did you get done what we were talking about, or did you decide not to? Follow up. That's important. You know, but that's one thing. Other comments I've made, one of them I've already talked about, the audits for small towns and PSAs. They're getting harder to do. It's going to be a problem for the libraries.
And more expensive.
Yes.
I mean, in 3 years, our audit cost has gone up by $3,000.
Yeah. And it's going to get worse. So I just, another item, talking about animal control. I have killed 2 raccoons on my farm in the last 10 days. And I've called several different people, you know, thinking, do you want to test them for rabies? You know, they weren't acting right. No, it's not our department. I call so-and-so, I call so, oh, we don't do that, that's not our department. I finally did what I tell everybody to do, shoot, shovel, and shut up. So I buried them. But, you know, we really do need to find out who controls this type of thing. Go ahead.
I am aware now, animal control is for domestic animals.
Yeah.
Wildlife is controlled by the game warden.
Supposedly.
I do know that now.
And,
The game warden will tell you to go by Charlie's 3 S's.
Well, there's only one game warden for Southwest Virginia.
That's what they'll tell you.
Yep. I want to make it aware to the public that our roundabout on the, out in the McMillan section is going to start next week, both of them. I'm not a fan, one of them is.
Just, yeah, the one on the north side, the.
Closest to the railroad bridge?
Yes.
The one at
We'll start, correct, we'll start next week, and by start, you'll see silk fence going up, you'll see signs being taken down, trees being cut, and then in the coming months, you'll see utility lines being moved, and then they'll progress into the.
How long before that affects the convenience station there?
Alright, so the convenience station won't be impacted until the bridge project comes along.
Okay.
And that's the design build project that's supposed to go out for bid this fall. And so that's kinda, VDOT doesn't have any concrete answers on that because they're not designing it in-house. They're gonna farm that out, and another company will both design it and build it. But that's something that we're keeping tabs on. VDOT knows that we're very interested in any details whatsoever as they come on.
And I'd like to point out to Stephanie, who's watching this on a video probably by now, this is not a county decision, not a board of supervisor decision to put this roundabout. It's VDOT, and I've fussed at them and fussed at them and fussed at them because we need that bridge a lot worse than we need that roundabout. And if we don't want, you know, if they want to do anything, put us entrance and exit off the interstate there. That would be wonderful. But we have no say. VDOT does what they want to do. Finally, the week of March 17th to the 23rd, and this is one dear to my heart, the week of 17th to the 23rd is National Agriculture Week. Agriculture is the biggest industry in Smyth County. That's agriculture, including forestry. March 19th is Agriculture Day. So if you enjoy eating, thank someone in farming. You know, if we supply, main product of Smyth County is timber and cattle. But we also have vegetables that are supplied to Food City and some other places, so we have some little specialty, but agriculture is number one in Smyth County, so. Just wanted to point that out, week of 17th through the 23rd. And as the others have said, be safe, I'll shut up. Thank y'all for attending. Meeting's adjourned.